One of the harder things for me to handle in an XX game is the initial bidding. Most of the rest of the game kind of falls from that, actually. Sometimes I play a game where I write out strategies for all the players. That's very rare. I've done that with this. What I found out with this one is the strategy I really want, which is to make the Waterloo and sausage, saw green, work correctly, where I can really kind of bust out using it and maybe make it somewhere cool. That's never worked terribly well. Anyway, I figured out how to make it work in a 4-player game. But I very seldomly play a 4-player game of XX, even opposed. I like them better with larger numbers of players. And this particular one, I feel maybe certain opportunities disappear when you're playing with too many people. Same is true with 1830. The D&H and the Mohawk and Hudson could be a very powerful combination. Now, I managed to play a collaborative game of that where one of us got the D&H, the other got the Mohawk and Hudson, and we worked things out and got the NYC to run humongous. I think basically you can figure out cool things to do if either you collaborate with someone or in small number of players, 3 or 4 players, you can usually get away with some really interesting stuff. But I usually like the game in 6, so that's what I'm doing because that's sort of the natural play for me. In fact, sometimes I've argued, hey, you can play these games in more than 6. Just you lower the amount of money and try to make the certificate limits. This one has some disadvantages in terms of not having a lot of the information on the board. And not having it on the back of the rules. The back of the rules has a map, which is important because that's where the city names are going to be as this all gets covered up with track. Sometimes it's hard to figure out where something is, and that is actually an important reference. What they have instead here, Dixon doesn't have this, okay. Most of the information that says on the back of the book in 1830, well, the tile manifest and the upgrades are all listed here. And then we've got all the other information in several pages where it takes up a lot less space in 1830 because this one has to repeat certain aspects, among other things. And some things like this aren't really necessary in 1830. However, they are valuable here, seeing the starting and destination city and stuff like that. Anyway, everybody's got $250 to start with. And like I was kind of trying to babble on it. I am like really fatigued. I went shopping today. That always wipes me out. But I seem to have lost a couple hours somewhere that I can't justify. I don't want to hear about my drinking. It had nothing to do with it this time. So I think I was spamming online and being pissed off about YouTube for the most part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll for this guy and see what companies he's interested in. Now, if this were a 5-player game, he would grab this because that gets him 2 minor company, 2 privates. And I think it's almost always worth having 2 of them rather than 1, even if you get 2 that you don't really want. But this is a 6-player game, so you can only expect to get 1. He's going to put a bid in on the Waterloo and sausage. He's got to go 45. And what I should do is mark that with a little player marker to indicate who's bidding on it and who's got the lead bid. Right now, that's the same person. And this is just really how I randomize my starting. I'll come back when it's done. But now the second player checks. And he's interested in the 4th element here, which is the Great Lakes shipping. And he's willing to go up to 75 on that. So we've got a couple of bids in play now. We'll just keep going through it. Now, obviously, this may not be the optimal way of kind of linking things. And to some extent, I don't necessarily stick to, so, my up the bids is usually an odd or even thing. But when the price starts getting up there beyond what I think is reasonable, I start making them make 2 rolls to make the bid higher and stuff like that. This guy's also interested in Waterloo and sausage. Yeah, leave me alone. So he's going to boost that up to $50. And now he's got the lead bid. Remember, I go kind of counterclockwise in all my games. It just suits me better. So player 4, well, he's also interested in Great Lakes shipping. We'll give him a die. And there are little tokens you can use for this, but that goes up to 80. Up to the 5th player. He's interested in the Canada Company. He'll go up to 55. You can't bid more total than the cash you have available. If people start building on multiple companies, we'll worry about that. Nobody's interested in these, which is kind of strange. I always find them kind of intriguing and mesmerizing, actually. The extra cash you can make. You can make big money off the LPS and maybe off the Welland. 6th player? 6th player, well, he says, I want the tunnel. And these are also the biggest hits you have in the game. And I'm only going with the $5 minimum bid, not worrying. You know, if you really calculate everything out, you can sometimes figure out, man, at $67, and you can jump a bid above, but then they always have to be at least $5 above. All right, well, this is player 1. He doesn't get a guaranteed purchase on this, so I'm going to roll again. He is guaranteed in the auction. But let's see what he's interested in. He's interested in the Niagara Falls. Does he have enough money for both of these? He's put 105 and 45 on this. So he's now at 150. If he had gotten the Waterloo and sausage as what he's interested in, he would have bought the floss to try to force it out more quickly. Player 2. Player 2 is interested in 4. That's what he's got the highest bid on. He's going to open up with buying the floss. And I got to get this bank here. You know, the bank in the box, it's kind of a nice and useful thing in general. But it takes up a lot of space. Anyway, he picks this up for its offer price, which is a bonus. And now we have bids on everything. These are all going to fall. Player... I gave that to the wrong person, didn't I? Player 1 went there, so player 2 they picked up the floss. Okay. And you know, this isn't bad. It actually gets a good return for income. You're getting a quarter of the value each time. You get the same off the Waterloo and Saugeen. Others get less than that. Of course, it also has the least hit value, which is to say you're not going to pull as much money out of a corporation with this. This will get you $40 out of a corporation at best. But all right. So now we resolve the auction here between those two. And again, player 1's definitely still interested. We're right now sitting at $10 above. That's going to be a 50. I don't have a way to really mark the actual value. But let's see if he goes higher. He's going to be paying a lot for this. To run the Welland is going to take some cash. He's willing to pass. Which means player 3 gets this. Actually, it would have been 55. For 2 bids, which is $55. 60. Player 5 gets this at 55. Players 2 and 4 are bidding on the Great Lakes. 4 doesn't have another company. If he doesn't buy this, he doesn't get a minor or a private. On the other hand, 2 is getting kind of a lousy private. So they're both kind of more interested in this than you might expect for what it is. Right now, the bid is at 80. And I believe 4 has the highest bid. So 2 has the chance to go above that. He lets it go. I think that was a mistake. I don't think you want to not take the minor, but it gives him more cash on hand. And I don't want to play all the players exactly as I am. I just kind of skew them a little that way. This guy's 105 for the bridge. And this guy's 105 for the tunnel. Who bought the last thing that wasn't bid on? Well, there was only one. Him. So the priority deal is going to go here. And that's kind of the beginning of the opening round, right? The first stock round. But what about the rest of it? The rest of it's kind of interesting. Because now we start calculating out what we can start with. And this isn't as simple as good old 1830. In 1830, I can look and say, okay, I've got, you know, 300 bucks in my hand or 400 bucks in my hand. I've got to buy 6 shares. It's not that simple here. So first of all, I've got the company. Can I use that somehow? I've also got 195 bucks. Now 195 is divisible by 3 to 65. I could start a very low valued company and make sure I have 3 shares. With 3 shares, even though it's low value, I will get to start. Unfortunately, I'll only have 195 bucks in there and I'll have to take a loan out first thing in order to buy that train if that's what comes around to me. I'll have 3 shares though, which means I'll be making more money on my certificates. The other option is at 195, I could spend 180 of that, say, and buy 2 shares of a relatively rich company. How many people have 200 bucks? This guy's got 200 and something bucks. He could actually buy a company in better shape ahead of me in terms of it'll be way up here with the 2 shares. No one else can buy a company for 200 bucks, but there are other people sitting around here at this 195 range. So I've got to kind of make my decision. As far as I'm concerned, do I want to have lots of money in my corporation, which will make the Waterloo and Saugeen easier to use for that corporation, or do I want multiple corporations? Definitely stuff to think about here. Where can I make my best money? I don't have the bridge or the tunnel options. I'm only going to be able to start it with 195 bucks. Which, how many trains does that mean? I think there's a good chance if I started at 195, I'll only be able to get one, or at 65 a share, I'll only be able to get a 3 train. If I started at 90, I'll probably be able to get 2 trains, which is better. Trains can go real fast in this game because of the loans. So then the question is, well, where am I going to make money? And does this matter to my decisions? And where do I end up going with my rail? I don't want to take one of these, because until the 3 comes out, I'm not going to be able to build track out of it. well, let's take a little look. First of all, let's look for where I can make money, because that is an important factor here. The CPR can run 30, 40, 50, maybe 70 off a 3 train. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. This is at least as good coming out of Toronto with the GT striking down there. Not a lot of room for expansion. 30, 50, and then Hamilton. Hamilton's going to go to an ooh, which are valuable. This is appealing. Just trying to decide which railway I want. Long term, if it lasts for a long time, one of the ones with lots of dots is nice. Well, where does the Great Western have to go in the long run? Although that's not terribly important. It has to make it to Windsor. Where the hell's Windsor? Damned if I can find it. Down there. That's a long, ugly route. What else were we thinking? CPR is pretty decent, actually. WGB is kind of, even though this is really pleasant for this, it's kind of in the wrong place. You know, I think I want the Great Western, and I think I want to buy 3 shares of it at 65 a share. So 2 shares will cost me 130. I put it at low value. I grab that and I get my tokens for it. And actually that 130 is in the corporate treasury right now. And I have to make kind of equivalent balancing decisions with each of the other players. I usually don't think I go into this much detail here. But let's do it because it's not just trivially landing in my brain. Again, unlike 1830, although I really like this one, I haven't played it all that much. That's no secret. All right. Now, is it necessary to get a company to begin with? If you don't, you may end up with a wreck in your hands. That's the problem. It's very easy to make big money in this game off a company, taking out loans, etc., and then dump it into someone. So, being the investor, well, if you sit around and wait until it comes back around and you see everything that's out there, that's great. The only problem here is I took the Welland instead of the Great Western. Okay. Now that means the poor Great Western is going to be somewhat truncated because it doesn't have the starting capital over the first period of the game. You kind of want high-valued rails early on because, well, if you started at 65, the influx of those first 5 shares is only $325, as opposed to if you started at 100, it's $500. That's a big deal because it means you may have to swallow or play with loans or stuff, but loans are good things. Loans are your buddy. All right, what about the Great Lakes? Do I want to make a company that's going to use them? If I do, what's appealing is a high value here. So like CPR going to Georgian Bay may not be as appealing as, say, running the LPS. But if I don't have the tunnel, Ontario has no ports on it. That is unpleasant. What about the Canadian Airlines? The reason I say the Canadian Airlines is I'm close to London anyway. He wants to get to Woodstock. Yeah, that's not where I want. Somebody wants to get to Goodrich. It's the Wellington Gray and Bruce. See, I'm looking at, I can put my token here, and this is actually weird. It's not like normal red areas that are ends of runs. This one, I think just this one, allows you to run through it and collect money. That's very appealing. So if I can come out of Guelph, strike down there with an early train, and then cut up here, get a second train, that's kind of nice. Plus, once I hook this up, I get money for every share that's bought of my company, even after 5. It is, however, a crappy-ass company, but I like it, just in terms of not many tokens. I think it works okay early in the game, and I may not be keeping it the whole game. Right? That's always the key. So I only have 170 bucks. Well, that's not going to work for 3 shares. It means I'm going to be setting it at 80 if I want the highest possible. Amount, and I don't think there's a reason not to do that. So let's start this one at 160. Put this up here, that there. And I have 2 shares of it. Keep your fingers crossed that these don't sell out to companies with more investment in them. All right, what's the Canada Company bonus? The Canada Company bonus is this extra track lay here. Now this is kind of an interesting thing. If you want to get up here, the Canada Company, this space, and then the WGB can head down towards Toronto. That's sort of my magic bonus, is to basically get a run coming through here in the long run. That's about as good as you can probably do with the WGB, but it's just not that good. Canada Company's not necessary. You can cut it straight like this, but Kitchener adds some value, and it's kind of cool. It can get you a jump going to your getting track built in that direction and in this direction at the same time, or something along those lines. Canada Company doesn't help me a whole lot with any other company that I can think of that's sitting around. So now the question is, where's the bucks? What can I get that's worth building? So even though I'm way over here with this, I'm going to go with the Grand Trunk. I've seen some people just jump in and buy like the LPS or the WR without the bridge or the tunnel. They are able to make good money, at least the LPS is. And that's one good reason to do it. But I think the GT is just as good. And I have 195. That's the 65 a share. The GT is almost naturally inclined for running a 3-train, but I'm also good at running a pair of deuces. Given that somebody's already going at the high price, I'm almost certain to get the 3-train. Yeah, I'm going to go for the 3-train as well. Let's put that at 65. And let me say that's going to be 130. The GT is nice because it has a bunch of dots. And the GT's token goes under here so that it'll go after the GW in the general order of things. It is quite possible that I will screw up massively here. Not so much on the rules, but on the strategy side of things. It's been a long time since I played this. Last time I did, I really messed things up. All right. The tunnel. Well, I obviously want the LPS. I've only got $145. That's not a whole lot. That's a $70 a thing. That's what we'll start the LPS at. That should get me trains. I should get running here, we hope. Just because there aren't a lot of people left to buy companies. I've got one person who's got the jump on me here. I got two more people who could. If they both get the jump, and this guy cannot, he comes after me, they're going to get they could conceivably get two trains each. Now this poor guy's in trouble. He's got $145 in the Niagara Bridge Company. This often happens to me with the Welland. If you buy the Welland at $145, if this guy buys two trains, and he may well, he's got $140. He's got me beat because I can only start my company at 70. I can't put it like at 100 and only buy one share. I got to buy the president's certificate. So this guy's got me beat. The WGB has me beat. He's sitting up there at 80. This guy has 200 and something bucks. I don't know which way he's going. I think the best thing I can do in this position, I could buy shares and become an investor, but if I do that, I'm not going to make any additional money. You don't make money in the first operating round of the game. The reason for that is nobody's got track down. Nobody's got a train, even more importantly, so they won't be able to run the train before they buy one. Stocks lose value. On the other hand, if I wait a turn, I have $20 more. I have $165. Does that help? It does allow me to buy it at 80. I think my best move here is to pause, see what this guy does. If this guy sets his price too low, I can pretty much guarantee that I can get my two trains that I want to get. If he sets his price high, I'm not going to be able to beat him out. And there are three people ahead of me who can each buy two trains, and I can't guarantee that I'll get to start. So then I'll probably either want to invest at this point or wait till next turn and do so. Either way, it's no big deal. So I'm going to move the priority card here to indicate that I've passed. And that opens up a problem though. But I've gone through a number of people. Somebody could still buy the Welland, and then I'm kind of shafted out of my big bonus, at least early on. The Welland, again, is not a terrible line. Well, it's not a great line either. 200. It's usually not a great line because the person pays this money, and you don't have the cash to expand it the way it could be. Maybe in a smaller number of players, it would work better. But it's a little stronger as a railway than the LPS, but the LPS has an easier job of getting out of it. By By the way, these little L's here indicate that you can use some special brown tokens in those spaces. Some tokens only go in those spaces, the brown city upgrades, just in case you were wondering that. Get the Canadian government out of the way. All right, so we're up to this guy. He has 230 bucks. 230 divided by 3 says he could start something at 75, which is still up here with 3 shares. That's pretty promising. What company? Well, the most tempting is the CPR. CPR has a lot of dots. It has a lot of power. It's a good big railway. Can it make good money, though, is the question. It wants to get to Toronto. The route down to Toronto sucks. I don't like it. I've seen people start it and do okay. I've seen people win with it. I've seen me win with it, I think. But something disturbs me about it. What is so good about it? I'll tell you what's good about it. I lay a track here, I lay a track here. I've got 1, 2, 3 trains that I can run off of it right off the bat. 3 deuces. Really quickly. There's only 2 trains here. Here I can't get in here until the greens are out. I can do a 1, 2, 3 though, which makes the Welland very powerful as well. Which one's better? Quick money is the best thing in the game. The floss is right up on the CPR. We're going for that. We're going to spend 150 bucks. And buy 2 CPR at 75 bucks each. These cards are very, very thick. 150 going. Now it's a matter of buying the 3rd share for the people who have it, and we got to make a decision on him. 3rd share is easy. 65 bucks. Why don't we give him the railway he deserves too? And a Great Western. Over here, I got nothing. 65 bucks and a Grand Trunk. I forgot to give him his presidency. He certainly doesn't have the money to buy more. Now the priority is actually over here right now. It's on him. What does he want to do? He has 145 bucks. What's going to make the most money? I do not know at this point. It is worth me holding off buying. You know, I could predict, all right, the WGB is going to be running here. They're probably only going to have 1 train. They're not going to make much money. CPR, you don't buy the CPR unless you're buying 3 trains. So that's going to make a lot of money. But what if I'm wrong? I'm going to pass. And that puts me on the CPR, which needs some change again. And for 75 bucks buys another share. Nobody's got any more money. We go around. Nobody can sell certificates on the first turn of the game. So priority is going to land here. The only question is, hey, do I want to do it now? Now that I know he's got 3 shares. I knew he was getting 3 shares. I could have calculated that out. No biggie there. So no, the answer is no. And let's go to the first operating round. Well, and we only have 1. And I'm going to do this just straight through on 1 video. And then I'm going to go into a lot less detail as I usually do in an XX. But I want to get this first turn done. First thing that happens is we have to pay out the money from these minor companies, and we get 20 bucks into there. I don't usually do this level of detail across these. 5 bucks there, 10 bucks here. These are all going into the player's hands. 15 here, 10, and 20. None of the companies sold out, so the values didn't go up. WGB gets to start. It has 2 shares. There's a 2 train available. I'm allowed to start. First thing I get to do is I get to lay some track. I want to lay track so that I can start actually making money. This may be an iffy decision, but I want to get up here. What's being iffy is I'm not getting my way to Toronto as quickly as I could. I need tokens. For all these companies. The reason I don't want to pause the video is because it screws up. First of all, it takes a lot of time, and secondly, it screws up the video quality. I don't have a train. I can't run. My stock value goes back 1. Now I can buy a train. Now I only need 1 train. Which is good, because I don't have a lot of money. I'll spend 100 bucks and buy a deuce. I don't have to yet, but I want to. One last decision I gotta make. Do I want a loan? Right? If I take a loan out this turn, I have 90 bucks for it. I'll be at 150. What happens next turn? I'm not going to be able to buy another train for a while. Now, if I bought another deuce right away, it would make sense. But I'm not going to be able to use that deuce for a while. I am holding off on buying a train, and I'm holding off on picking up any loans with them. Conservative play, probably not a good idea in this game, but that's what we're doing. Okay. Let's see about the CPR here. I can put these back. We don't need any of them for this round. CPR gets its tokens. Huh. Oh, there it is. Okay. CPR is next in line here. So, CPR has lots and lots of trains to play. I'm spending 50 bucks. Make it 40. To lay a quick straight city here, I have to spend 40 because that's the cost to build it here. Do I really want a straight city? I don't know. I can't tell you the answer to that. I'm buying 3 trains for 300 bucks. How do I do that? I better have the money for it. Oh, did I screw up here? 170, 180, 185. I need that 40 back. Okay. I can't build this. You'll see. Let's build some track going down. That's free. Okay. But I still need 3 trains. 3 trains, you don't hook anything up. Yeah. Here's 200 bucks. Here's a loan, that's worth 100 bucks. Okay, so I spend 300 bucks. Well, my loan's only worth $90 because I'm taking it out during the train building phase. So I spent $300 on those 3 trains. Heavy, heavy investment here. Am I gonna make any money off this? Damned if I know. The problem is I need to raise more money next turn, but I had to buy 3 trains this turn or they wouldn't be available. This thing's looking like it's going to crash hard, but it's going to make some good money. Now, it didn't have a run. And yeah, I've got $80 I got to spend here. By the way, if you don't have the money for interest, you can take it out of, I didn't explain this, out of your income for the turn. It reduces the value of the income that you make by that amount. And that's kind of another option to not paying the interest. If you're paying out, you can pay the interest that way. All right, our next one is the LPS. The LPS only has 2 shares. There's only 2 trains left. I bet you he wants them, although buying the last 2 train is a little iffy. So let's think a little bit about it. I don't have a whole hell of a lot of money. I have $140. Being conservative doesn't work, though, in this game. All right, what is my goal? Where am I trying to get? I'm trying to get to St. Thomas. St. Thomas is down here, but I'm not necessarily going for that first off. I may be more interested in Detroit, Windsor, or London. London I can't get to right away. St. Thomas is looking kind of appealing if I have... See, I have to go way out of my way if I want to avoid this city. A 2 and a 3 train is an appealing option too, though. And that's where I'm thinking. Yeah, you're going to run huge? All right. Somebody's going to buy that other 2 train. There's the Great Western and the Grand Trunk here. I'm going to aim for a 3 train. If I have a 2 and a 3, run here. And let's say here, 1, 2, 3. That sounds good to me. That gets me to my location. That's my aim. Great. So I need a straight track. I put my home. I go back because I have no track, no run. I spend $100 and buy 1 deuce. It's going to take me a while to get there. When will I be able to buy the 3 train? I don't know, but I'd like to get it as soon as I can. Next turn I hit here, the turn after here. So this turn I've got, if I take a loan out, I've got $100. Next turn I've got $100. That's 200. That's getting me close. It's probably going to take me 3 turns to set that up. I'm going to pass on a loan this turn. I think that works for me. I hope. The problem is I also want a loan for this sucker. I want to be able to spend $200 on that, but I think I can hold. That puts us to the Great Western. Great Western's here in London. It's got a pile of money on them. 195. I don't have to buy a train, but I want to, even though it's the last deuce. I'm trying to get to Windsor, which is somewhere. I don't know where Windsor is. I don't see it. This is Guelph. Oh, Windsor's down here. That's a hard run to make. What I'm going to want to do, because I don't want to waste my time in the doinks, 1, and then cut through here for 2. This is a long, I need a big train to hook that up. Other options are more interesting. I've got the Waterloo and Sawgreen. That may be my most interesting connection, is being able to hit to here and maybe come out of here and go somewhere else with that. I'm going to need money to do that, but maybe not right away. Right now, let's do this. This is the most open thing I can do. Because I won't be able to hook this up. I want to have a run next time. I don't make a run. I have $100 for a train. Do I have 225 for the other train? Not yet. I have 90, 100, 115. Right. No, 95. If I took out a loan, I wouldn't have enough for that other train. I'm worried that I won't get a 3 train, though, if I don't start moving. I'm taking a loan out. And I only get $90 for it because I got to pay interest. But that's okay. Last company is the GT. There better be shares of it out. There are. That means it does start. The GT doesn't have a lot of options here. It is possible that all these could be used up, and that's not too terrible. You could curve instead. I gotta find GT tokens. Get the rest down later. Nothing to pay out. Well, a 3 train hooks me up. I would have rather be running 2 2s, but that's not the way of the world. I bought too many shares for that. So I need to come up with $225. Now this is what's kind of cool. I have 150, 70, 80, 95. I don't have enough money to buy a train. That is terrible in most of these games, but it's not so bad in this. I'll just fucking finance it. All right. So there's another, and this is all in the corporation. I just am doing this because of the video aspect. I haven't shown a game of XX in this detail. So there's 200. Let's make sure I did that right. Yeah, I spent the 10. That's $225. I buy the first 3 train. And what does that do? That's going to bring the green tiles out. We'll put them on play very shortly. We're done with the first turn of the game. Now the first turn usually takes no time because players aren't thinking too hard. We'll be going to another stock round, and I will take a bigger step away from the game during that, so we're not following every little action. But you know, I haven't done that before, and for some reason, just like I wasn't in the mood to really read the rule to do the rules the way I usually do, I'm not in the mood to do what I usually do playing it this time. So I started playing it all out for some reason. Gives you a lot of detail as to some of the simple starting maneuvers in any XX game, along with this weird kind of thinking having to do with the loans. Most XX games, it's almost automatic what you do to start. You don't have a lot of options. 1856, because of the loans, you have a lot of leeway. You aren't just limited by what your company's prospects are. Company prospects in this game can be very, very open in a way that they're not in 30. In 30, you could look at the pen and say, well, I can make $3 a turn on the first turn, and it's not going to get much better for a while. You can look at the B&O, and your prospects are unlimited early on. But then the question is, how much do you want to spend? In this, part of the how much do you want to spend isn't just, hey, I have a pile of cash, I can use whatever I like. It's this whole balancing of the loans against what you can pull in. And the loans are just part of that same kind of mindset that makes you run 3 or 4 trains in an 1830 game. Run it hard, run it well, make lots of money. If you got to hold it, well, that sucks, but maybe you can hand it off to someone, right? Maybe there's someone at the table who's willing to hold 2 shares of your stock. All right. I'll load this up, and we didn't see any money cycling over. Nobody made money off their railways yet. That comes later, and I'll probably zoom in on at least one player doing that. Anyway, this one's going up.